They called him a charity case. They said it with smiles that hurt worse than insults, polite pity at church halls, stiff nods at neighborhood fundraisers, whispers that followed him down grocery aisles like price tags he could never afford to tear off. For years, Malik Hayes wore other people's generosity like a borrowed coat. Warm enough to survive, never enough to belong. He took the secondhand laptops, the scholarship with strings, the opportunities that always came with quiet condescension. They never asked who he could be. They only asked what he needed. Then a letter arrived. Heavy paper, blue ink signature, a name he didn't recognize. Mr. Hayes, an estate you are named in has reached final distribution. Your presence is requested for formal reading. He laughed at first. Scam. Fantasy. But the return address was a real firm. The sender was a real partner. And the date was real. 2 days away at precisely 10 a.m., in a conference room high above a city that had never made space for him unless he entered through a service door. Malik walked in wearing the only suit he owned. He expected to be offered crumbs. Instead, he was handed a key. Not to a house, to a vault. The will named him sole beneficiary of an estate no one knew existed. Revenue shares from 37 quietly successful patents. Controlling interest in a holding company that owned industrial warehouses along the interstate. Minority stakes in 2 fintech startups about to go public, and an endowment structured to triple if, and only if, he refused to sell for 3 years. A safety net that was, in truth, a slingshot. Why me? He asked. The attorney slid over a photo, a black man in a lab coat with tired eyes and a proud smile. Your grandfather's brother. He built things in silence. He kept receipts. He left it all to the one descendant who kept showing up when no one asked him to. We tracked you for a year. Every community center, every mentorship visit, every late night, you stayed with the teenager others had written off. He saw you without ever meeting you. Malik's hands shook. The room tilted. For a long time, he had believed that acceptance required smallness. This inheritance demanded scale. But wealth is a mirror. It shows you who you are, and it shows everyone else what they think of you. The same people who had called him a charity case would now call him a fraud who got lucky. The ones who gave him used books would now send glossy decks. The ones who offered pity would now insist on partnership. So he decided to do what his unknown benefactor had done. Move in silence, test in daylight. He kept his life the same for 90 days. He still took the bus. Still ate at the same diner. Still mentored at the same rec center. And he watched. At Rise Up Youth, director Anton, always kind to his face, suddenly pushed for Malik to headline their Gala success story segment, adding sponsor Zooms at midnight, scripts that made Malik small so their donor looked big. At the Community Foundation, board chair Lynn, who once sent him home from a reception with leftover sandwiches, now pitched a strategic partnership that routed his unknown money through her familiar influence. At Northbridge Ventures, where Malik had pitched 2 years ago and been told to find a co-founder with a more proven profile, partner Reed appeared in his DMs suggesting coffee with friends who believe in overlooked founders. And then there was Joy. She'd been there long before the letter. Fellow mentor, public school teacher, the one who stopped pity with eye contact and turned chaos into dignity with a calm voice and a firm boundary. She didn't flinch when he said no to the Gala script. She didn't flinch when he said something big had happened and he wasn't ready to talk about it. She only asked the question that mattered. How will this help the kids without breaking you? The test began. Test 1. Give Anton a no with an alternative. No pity script. Yes to a program guarantee if outcomes improve for the hardest to serve students. Test 2. Offer Lynn independent audit and open books in exchange for multi-year scholarships chosen by a panel of public school counselors, not donors. Test 3. Ask Reed for term sheets with founder-friendly provisions he'd refused before. Watch the mask. Malik also tested himself. He funded an emergency grant for the rec center staffer who slept in his car and insisted on anonymity. He paid off medical debt for 3 parents and told no one but his accountant. He kept the bus pass in his wallet like a compass needle pointing north. What he discovered hurt and healed at once. Some people wanted his face, not his future. Others wanted his future only if they could own it. A few wanted his future to belong to the kids he loved, even if it meant getting less credit. On day 91, Malik opened the vault, and the world that had called him a charity case learned what happens when a man they underestimated stops asking permission. If hidden power, identity reveals, and justice delivered without cruelty move you, subscribe now. This is a story of a quiet inheritance that called a man higher, and of a community that had to decide who they were once the pity ran out. The inheritance was structured like a lesson. Section A, cash equivalents, useful, dangerous. Section B, income streams, unsexy, unstoppable. Section C, governance rights, meetings where decisions are made by people who say impact like a flavor. Section D, a letter, handwritten, careful. Malik, if this reaches you, it means you kept going when it would have been easier to sit down. I built, but I hid. I was tired of being the only black man in every room who had to be twice as good to be told he was almost there. You don't have to hide, but you do have to choose. Choose what? Malik read the next lines 3 times. Control or credit. You will not get both. Choose control. He started with Anton. Rise Up Youth was effective because its frontline staff were relentless. But the Gala machine was precision-engineered to bait pity. Malik declined the script and proposed a radical grant. A multi-year funding floor with a condition: no more pity framing. Replace the sad music videos with transparent dashboards. Feature staff and students as protagonists, not props. Board pushback was immediate. Donor psychology, they warned. We know what sells. Malik held the line. Outcome psychology, he countered. We know what works. Anton, torn between budget and backbone, made the call. We'll try your way. The first test results were messy. Donations dipped for 3 months. Then something strange happened. Local small donors, teachers, postal workers, bus drivers started giving monthly. Not much, but consistently. Corporate gifts returned quietly. No sad music, just respect. Rise Up's staff churn dropped. The hardest to reach teens stayed in the program 2 months longer. Pity was a sugar high. Dignity was protein. Next came Lynn. The community foundation was a maze of restricted funds and velvet ropes. Malik asked for unfettered scholarships, decided by counselors with no Gala strings. Lynn smiled with all teeth. Of course, after we establish a named fund and recognition plan. Malik said no. He offered audit rights, open metrics, privacy for families. Her smile cooled. Donors need stories. He built another path, a counselor-led scholarship collective with pooled micro-gifts and 1 anchor grant, his without a name. The first year, 62 students received awards chosen by people who knew their lives intimately. No stage, no savior photos, just tuition paid on time. Then read. Northbridge Ventures had once told Malik his deck was good, but not a fit for our thesis. Their thesis changed the minute rumors of his liquidity swirled. Reed suggested he become a scout. Translation: bring us deals from your community. We'll choose. Malik asked for a sidecar fund with veto power and founder-friendly terms, including anti-predatory provisions, mental health stipends, and a clause that forbade humiliating war story panels using failure porn from black founders as thought leadership. Reed said it was interesting. Translation: no. Malik pulled his own lever. He formed an operator-led micro fund with public term templates anyone could download and use to negotiate. 3 months later, 2 other funds adopted his templates to avoid Twitter storms. Control, not credit. But the most important tests were personal. Test Joy. He handed her the letter. He told her the numbers. He told her his fear: I don't want to become what I hated, someone who walks in and everyone stands up because they want something. Joy heard him and asked the only question that mattered. Whose voice will you amplify that cannot be bought? They design a rule. Any stage Malik stepped on would include a parent, a public school counselor, or a kid, and he wouldn't speak last. Test the kids. He asked his mints what they'd build with $10,000 in a year. Most listed gear and vibes. 1. Serena sketched a peer-run homework shuttle that got kids safely from school to the rec center and home by 9 with vetted drivers. Malik funded the pilot on the condition Serena hired and fired, set standards, and reported failures honestly. The shuttle cut late arrivals by 43% in a quarter. Two of the drivers were moms who needed flexible work. Serena learned budgets lie unless you force them to tell the truth. He also examined the inheritance's quiet backbone, those patents. They weren't from apps. They were from tools, warehouse robotics, cold chain sensors, boring magic. He visited the old plant where some had been prototyped. The foreman, a man with hands like work, said, "We built for other folks' names. Good to see a Hayes on the papers." Malik added a royalty rider. A slice of distributions would flow to a workers' fund for apprenticeships. Lawyers groaned, but numbers obey logic. The fund launched. Every test revealed a map. Pity crowds the center. Dignity spreads the field. Control multiplies impact. Credit multiplies invitations. Malik kept choosing control. By day 180, rumors hardened into theories. He's the hidden donor. He's fronting for someone. He's a lottery boy playing philanthropist. Malik ignored it. Then Anton called. "They want you for the broadcast gala. Not a pity segment. A reveal. Choose. Control or credit." Malik called the attorney from the first day. "What will my grandfather's brother have done?" The answer came back folded into silence. He hid to survive. "You don't have to, but you must remember why." Malik looked at Joy. She nodded. "If you reveal, make it a mirror, not a victory lap." The reveal would not be about a mysterious inheritance. It would be about what a city does when the pity ends. The gala stage was designed for awe. Spotlights. A live band that knew when to swell. A teleprompter loaded with soft focus language that made donors feel like gods. Malik refused the script. He wore a simple black suit. He asked for the house lights up and the balcony uncovered so the kids could see. Anton introduced him carefully. "Many of you know Malik as a mentor. Tonight, you'll know him as something more." A murmur spread like wind over tall grass. Malik stepped in a light that felt like truth and said the first thing that mattered. "I was the kid you filmed for fundraising reels. I was the inspiring story in the brochure. I smiled for other people's money. I'm done with that." Gasps. A laugh where a laugh didn't belong. Malik continued. "Someone left me an inheritance. It changes what I can do, not who I am. Tonight is not about money. It's about terms." The screen lit with terms no gala expected. Founder-friendly clauses. No pity pivots. Dignity-first metrics. Counselor-led scholarships. Apprenticeships funded by boring patents. A shuttle run by a 16-year-old named Serena with better on-time stats than most public transit. This is what we're doing. Not because it looks good on camera, but because it works off camera. A hand shot up from the premium tables. Lynn smiled bright as ever. "It's inspiring, Malik. But how do we keep donors engaged without stories?" Malik nodded, grateful for the alley-oop. "We tell better stories. Not about desperation. About design. Not about saviors. About systems. Tonight you'll hear from staff who kept kids alive on Tuesdays in February when the budget was already gone. You'll hear from Serena, who rebuilt a schedule that made it home safe. You'll hear from a counselor who fought a principal for a seat in a room where decisions were made. Reed from Northbridge stood half to speak, thought better, sank down when the side screen flashed those public term templates with his firm's non-compliant clauses highlighted in red. Malik didn't say their name. He didn't have to. He looked at the kids in the balcony. "I was your charity case. I am not your charity trophy. If my face is on your brochure, it will be because I signed off on the outcomes and I know the operator's first and last name." The band stayed quiet. No picture-perfect swell could compete with a room being asked to grow up. Joy stepped on stage, not as his partner, but as a witness. "I teach 8th grade English. I've sat in living rooms where rent was due and hope was late. I don't need your pity. I need librarians, buses, and paid counselors. If your money can't do that, keep it." A silence where people recalibrate. Then Serena walked out in her homecoming hoodie and ponytail, clutching note cards she didn't use. "Some of y'all told me I was too young to run anything. The route leaves at 3:45, 4:25, 5:10. If you're late, we leave. If you're early, you help load. We got home by 9 all quarter. You want to fund something? Fund that. Or walk a kid home yourself." The room laughed, then cried in the same breath. It's hard to argue with logistics that save lives. Malik closed with what the inheritance letter had taught him. Credit or control. I choose control, and I'm sharing it with the people who do the work. He pulled a final lever, a matching grant that doubled only if donors funded unglamorous line items: bus repairs, tutor wages, staff therapy stipends. The screen flashed a counter. Money moved, slower than when violins begged, steadier than it had any right to be. In the back, a group of parents stood and clapped first. It spread, not a roar, a standing agreement. And then came the moment no one planned. An older woman stepped to the stage edge with a worn photo. "I knew your grandfather's brother," she said. "He fixed our freezer in '84 without making us feel small. Tell him, if he can hear, that we saw him even when the papers didn't." Malik's voice broke for the first time all night. "I will." Revelation didn't end the pity economy. It just made it harder to run. And that was everything. In the months that followed, the city learned new muscles. RiseUp's donor base shifted from a few heavy hitters to 1,000 steady hands. Staff retention rose. The night shift therapist budget stayed funded in June when it mattered most. Serena's Shuttle expanded to 2 vans. Her first act was to fire her cousin for chronic lateness and hug him afterward. Accountability, then love. The counselor-led scholarship collective became a blueprint. 6 schools adopted it, then 12. Kids who never would have been picked by a Gala committee. Quiet brilliance, messy transcripts, loud resilience. Got what they needed without having to narrate their pain for strangers. One wrote Malik a note. "Thank you for not asking me to cry on stage to get rent." Northbridge publicly adopted founder-friendly terms in alignment with community standards. Reed sent Malik a text that read like surrender and growth at once. "We were wrong. Coffee." Malik said yes, and brought 2 founders and a staff therapist to the meeting. Deals closed. Boundaries held. Lynn returned to the table with open books and fewer adjectives. She sat with parents in fluorescent-lit rooms where reputation doesn't help. She didn't cry on Instagram. She apologized in private and changed procurement in public. The foundation began publishing its rejection letters with anonymized reasons so operators could improve without guessing the rules. Transparency is dignity written down. Anton changed the Gala forever. No more sad reels. He emceed from the floor, not the stage. He gave the microphone to staff on the edge of burnout and funded the line items that kept them from falling. He still missed the old rush sometimes, the quick flood of money when pity plays, but he learned to love the slow river that never ran dry. Joy stayed joy. She used Malik's no rule more than he did. When an elite school invited her for a panel on resilience, she replied, "Pay my substitute, fund our classroom library, and put a parent on the panel instead." They met 2 of 3. She still said no. Standards don't bend for clout. Malik kept the letter framed above his desk. Choose control. He added a line beneath it in his own hand. Share it. He built a boring fund that changed everything. The basics. Grants that only paid for things Instagram can't. HVAC maintenance at the community center, liability insurance for weekend leagues, certification fees for counselors, fuel for shuttles, tutors paid on time. Operators cried when the money hit. Not because it was large, but because it respected time. The mysterious inheritance became a public ethic. Wealth used to stage pain stopped getting standing ovations. Wealth that replaced broken things quietly started winning the room. Redemption didn't look like influencers posting apologies. It looked like budget lines rewritten by people who touched the work at 10:17 p.m. on a Thursday. A year later, Malik hosted a gathering with no stage and no VIP. It was in the rec center gym because the floor knew their names. Parents brought aluminum pans. Kids brought noise. Staff brought the exhaustion of a job done and the energy to do it again. He took the mic for 60 seconds. They called me a charity case. They were wrong about me. I was a case for design, for respect, for systems that don't require tears to work. If you gave to us before, thank you. If you're with us now, welcome. If you're still waiting for a sad story, there are other rooms. He looked up at the rafters and whispered to a man he never met. We're good. We're not done, but we're good. Before you go, what city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments so these stories find the streets that need them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, Now's the perfect time to join this community of hidden power and honest redemption. New episodes every week. Come back for the moment when pity ends and design begins.